Morning, everybody. Kevin here. The reason you are just seeing me instead of Joe and me right now is because we had a small technical issue with this West Wing recording. I don't know how or why, but when we did the episode, the audio track for Joe and me talking didn't catch anything from our pre-show discussion that we do every week, and it was complete silence. And then for whatever reason, when the show started itself, when we started actually watching the show, it did start. Fortunately, it did start recording Joe and I, which made absolutely no sense because the show audio and our audio are recorded on different tracks, anyways. I don't know what the issue is. I've kind of looked through everything and can't find what it was. If you have any brilliant insights, please let me know. The West Wing wasn't even the first show we did that day. We had just finished doing Schitt's Creek and had absolutely no issues. So this wasn't even like I set the equipment up wrong in the morning and it happened to kick on at the right time. So when we start actually watching the show, everything will be fine. My clothes will magically change, and Joe will magically appear right next to me when the actual show track starts. As far as our discussion, what we talked about going into the show, which I feel like is worth mentioning here anyway, because we refer back to it in the post-show commentary, which would make absolutely no sense without it. Our basic idea going into the episode, the previous one was a special episode with the interview footage with people around politics and politicians, kind of interspersed with clips from the show, mostly around season one, I believe, kind of showing that the show kind of reflects accurately what the workings of the West Wing are, and then how everyone kind of treats the job with a degree of honor, at least historically. But the episode prior to that was the Hoynes episode where they discussed replacing him on the ticket. And by the end of the episode, everyone was kind of on board, and it was kind of Hoynes leading the charge himself, saying, "Let's go win re-election. Going to be different electoral math, but let's go beat Richie and win re-election." Um, and so our thought was that because that's how we ended the previous episode, and then the next episode was kind of the intermission documentary style episode, that in this one we're about to watch, we would be going into full bore into campaign season, right? We felt like that episode kind of set up the actual presidential reelection campaign. Um, whether you're right or wrong, you'll be able to see here in a couple of minutes. But that was what our thoughts were. So at the end, when we're kind of discussing, how right or how wrong we were, because let's face it, when we make predictions, we probably miss more than we hit. But at any rate, that's what we did. So for those of you watching us on YouTube, normally we have a better intro than this. So sorry that this is an awkward one. If it's your first one, please like, comment, subscribe so you can see everything we've got coming out. We've done every episode of The West Wing prior to this without this kind of issue, as you can go back and see. If you'd like to see a full reaction to this and everything else that we've watched or are watching, check out a link in the description below to our Patreon page, where you'll be able to see all full-length shows of all kinds of stuff. You'll have to sync and watch along with us on your own device or a streaming service. We are watching this on Max, of course, here in the States. We're doing 30 Rock as a Patreon exclusive, and we just wrapped up Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which is a lovely show, and are going to be rolling out The Good Place right after, simply because we had to beta test it and did an episode to see if it would actually get past YouTube censors, and it did. So yay us! We're going to be doing the entire run of The Good Place following that. If you're watching this on YouTube, we are at least 4 episodes ahead over on Patreon. So after you don't watch this on YouTube, if you want to keep going, you can join Patreon and catch the next 4. All right. I got all of that spiel in, I think. I'm sure I'm forgetting pertinent things Joe and I discussed ahead of time, but it did not occur to me to remember it. But at least this way, no one, including myself, has to be an expert lip reader on what Joe and I talked about going in. So we're going to go and start the show. Once it starts, you will see Joe magically appear next to me, and my shirt color is going to change.
Whoever's on the printer, get off. Now.
Whatever this is big, it's for CJ, right?
Yeah.
Hey, aren't we pretty much admitting all the countries we formed NATO to fight?
Yes.
Then why not dissolve it?
We like the bomber jackets.
You just gotta get in there. Can we talk about sugar substitutes?
Whatever
We're not
this
done
is, Carol
talking
thinks
about
it's big.
Summit.
Yes.
It's a 2-day grip and grin.
There was a fire at the King Fatah Middle School in Medina. 17 girls died in the fire
Oh
and they
my
were
God.
prevented from coming out onto the street. And
Oh my God.
What?
the mutwa, the girls weren't dressed properly.
Oh my God!
Don't comment. You guys want to muzzle me before I go in there? Speak now or forever hold your peace. God knows it's not likely I'm gonna.
That's a
Dear God.
that's a nightmare. Religious sexism is such a tough issue.
It is.
Because you want to respect people's religious sovereignty, but at the
But when it
same
comes
time,
to
oh my
murder-
God.
To murder?
Saudi news is reporting that rescuers were prevented from getting to several female students by the religious police.
Well, do you have a comment?
I don't know.
Look, I'm sorry, CJ,
It
but you're
surprises
not
me.
outraged by this?
I'm sure she does, but
Oh,
she
yeah.
can't put anything out that.
This is a country where women are allowed to drive a car. They're not allowed to
Yeah.
be in the company of any man other than a close relative. The royal family allows the religious police to travel in groups of 6 carrying nightsticks, and they freely and publicly beat women. Am I outraged? No, Steve. No, Chris. No, Mark. That is Saudi Arabia, our partners in peace.
Now, I don't know how many Emmys she has at this point, but I feel like that deserves another one.
That was good writing too.
I have goosebumps, and
Yeah.
I fully agree with what she said.
I do too.
Kid wrote a letter to the president saying that when he was governor and campaigning, that he met his assistant, Mr. Farley.
It's probably one of the guys from early on.
And Peter Scolari from Bosom Buddies.
Well, how many weird letters does the president get a day?
A couple of thousand, but this one has the president's private mail code on it. That's why I've got it.
Is Ian McShane?
George Kozlowski.
He's playing a Russian. That's fine. I love McShane.
I do too.
Great character actor.
We'd already agreed on the Grand Salon in Finlandia Hall for the 6 o'clock meeting, and I wanted to change that to the Hall of Flags.
Hall of Flags.
Any trip 8 hours or longer, and someone gets fired at the end of it, and it's already been me 3 times.
We'll pass it to him.
Yeah, they're very angry faxes.
From Saudis?
Yeah, and angry emails. Look at these.
CJ,
I saw it.
it's a death threat.
It's not a big deal.
Josh? Can you come in here and look at this, please?
Donna?
No, CJ. You can
Yeah.
CJ's email.
Call Frank Tenney downstairs. Tell him I want to talk to him right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Terrace is going to announce a chip recall on Thursday.
How big?
Everything. They discovered a problem with one
It's
of
going to be 50 million chips.
80 million.
98,000 workers. I think 75,000 in the U.S. Plus the kidney punch at NASDAQ. Fitch, you old polecat.
Sounds like a big day at the White House.
Yeah.
Trying to be one of the fellas, sir?
Yeah.
Well done, sir. The Russians are building them a heavy water reactor.
What do you use heavy water for?
Plutonium.
I've got nothing to do.
What do you mean?
I got to the office at 6, and it turned out that everything that I was supposed to do got done by 7:30.
I'd like you to meet with a Russian reporter named Ludmila Kosh. She's the Washington correspondent for the Novaya Gazeta. She wants credentials and a seat on the press charter.
Time to teach these Stoli-drinking Tchaikovskys a thing or two about free press, American style. I will save Ludmila Kosh, for I am Toby, and in so doing, why am I going on like this?
I don't know.
CJ, Frank Tenney
CIA,
spoke to
or
me this
Secret
morning.
Service.
Yeah.
Yeah, Josh made me see him yesterday.
Okay.
I seen CJ
another
die.
one at 5:20 this morning. This isn't hate mail. This is a death threat. Could I use your computer for a second? I'm going to need to take your hard drive.
Why?
I just used traceroute tools and the server and the IP address don't match.
On his arrival and during outdoor photograph opportunity, President Bartlett must wear overcoat. While in comparison, our leader looks like I don't even know what word is.
Frumpy?
No,
The
he is.
president
John
never
Wick.
made a
He's John
budget
Wick,
speech
so
in
yeah.
Pittsburgh. He's 9, so he would
Game
have
of
been 5 or
Thrones.
6 at the time. Maybe he thought everything was a budget speech.
Or maybe it's just a crazy letter.
Plus, his father's in trouble.
Why?
He's a furnace worker at the Franklin Mill, and the kid said they may fire him because he wants to join a union.
Yeah, except they have a different name today.
What?
The AFL-CIO, and furnace workers are all unionized.
So it's an old letter?
Must be.
You write for the Novaya Gazeta?
Yes. First Amendment only extends as far as is polite.
No, it extends farther than that, but it only protects us. I've seen pictures of people out there in the world, and they all look like they're glad they are.
He's just in an oddly chipper mood because there's no pressure on him right
I
now.
like it.
Yeah.
Let's take a second and talk about Antares.
Yeah.
It's not like there's nothing we can do.
There's nothing we can do.
I'm not saying Commerce or Treasury calls the banks.
This isn't used to make the lights go. It's used to make plutonium. But the Russians are giving Iran the bomb. He's not going to Helsinki.
That's why I can't go. There's something really good on television. The president doesn't know how to work a VCR.
News of the reactor's gonna break, you know it will, and it's gonna break at the worst possible time. You don't get to put a bomb in Iran. There are no other issues on the table right now. We're gonna have to fly over there and blow this thing up.
How can you be sure? It's not a rogue thing.
I don't want a leak, Josh.
What are the things they could do?
We got about a half dozen American reporters in Moscow whose credentials are pending.
Making sure the Inquirer can write whatever it wants is the only way I can be sure the New York Times is writing whatever it wants.
You're going to get Secret Service protection, but I can't order it unless you sign this piece of paper. So sign this piece of paper. You're part of my family, and this thing is happening, and I simply won't permit it. Sign the piece of paper.
It's me leaving my house on Monday.
Oh, my God. Okay, so he's actually stalking her.
Charlie, FDR gave a budget speech in 1932 in Pittsburgh. Can you get your hands on a copy?
Was the letter to FDR?
Yeah.
It's a blue chip stock that's in every major...
They were huge contributors. How the hell am I supposed... They
No.
were huge contributors.
The optics of helping out a donor.
Yeah.
Jake was a contributor, and he's never asked for a favor, not even now. But tell me, this isn't exactly how we want American business to behave.
You can't let 100,000 people lose their jobs for optics.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. It would look bad, so let all these people lose everything.
That looks bad too. Yeah.
We must lead way in stemming tide of nuclear proliferation, and we must start with ourselves.
Whose idea was this?
Mine?
Who wrote it?
I did.
It's a message from the new president saying he's not involved with this nuclear thing in Iran.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happened
huge.
in 13 days. It was like back channel messaging.
It's because I don't flatter them.
No, it's because you stink. You allege that the Jagoran government bombed several apartment buildings. It was refuted. You never retracted it.
The government's case was all over the television.
You reported the failing grades of the defense minister's 12-year-old son.
Oh, that's garbage, yeah.
Does that even count as journalism? You know, we've always had free press here. We take it for granted. How can you treat it like this?
Yeah.
Nikolai Ivanovich, the senior member of the logistical negotiating team, said he had language he wanted added to the joint statement. For why should our two nations still possess the power to destroy themselves 10 times over? Surely once is enough.
Sir Jagoran wrote that.
That's what I thought, too.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to send you a message, Mr. President.
You're telling me that foreign policy of this magnitude is conducted through Sam, and I'm still alive?
We're pretty...
Leo.
There's Peter Scolari.
We'll stay his biggest customer. When you announce your recall, you can announce you're keeping your government contracts. Leo will work it out with Congress.
I won't be taking any salary for 2 years, and my managers will cut their salaries by 50% before we even consider laying anyone off.
When you were 9, you wrote this letter to Franklin
That's so
Roosevelt.
cool.
You met him when he was governor of New York and a candidate for president. Somebody found your letter and put the right postage on it.
Well, would you
It's
look
making me
at
cry.
what this-
That's awesome.
The White House owes you one picture.
Oh, my.
Let's go, Dad.
Mr. President, this is my son. I'd like my picture taken with that young man, if you don't mind.
Charlie.
Oh, that's so cool.
This is why we watch this show.
It was amazing.
It's this.
Thank you.
There he is,
Oh, yeah,
Mark
it's Mark
Harmon.
Harmon, yeah.
I don't like flashing around to give some people the jumps. But Agent Butterfield said you were a reluctant
How
customer.
does this work?
You're being
Like the
hunted.
shot.
Yeah. The lighting's really cool.
By the way, I can't guarantee anything except to say that if you're dead, chances are I am too.
I like that it just turned into like a little thriller.
Yeah,
there,
it
like
kind
a
of did,
little
didn't
mini
it?
thriller.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so,
Great finish there.
so Mark Harmon's going to be on the show now for
one at least. Yeah, I did too.
I think that's awesome. I like that he's a Secret Service agent too. Like,
Yeah, do you think he got NCIS based on on this? Because it kind of seems to fit it really well.
I wonder if it was on air at this point. I mean, because I know it's been on forever.
I have no idea. Yeah.
It's one of those shows. Yeah, this was a fun episode.
Actually, this predated for sure because
Oh,
this is
did-
like
you think so?
2002, and I think NCIS was like around 2007-ish.
I wouldn't be surprised that he got it based off of this. you
Sure.
know? I wonder how long he's going to be on the show for.
Right.
Yeah, I like Mark Harmon.
Oh, for sure.
He was always on TV when I was a kid. NCIS has been on for so long.
Been making TV and movies since at least the 80s. Yeah.
Yeah, one of those guys that never really made it as a movie star. So,
Sure.
so TV was always there for him. But I think he's perfect for this role.
Yeah, for sure.
When we saw his name in the credits for a second, I was like, "Is it Richie?"
No, I didn't even put that together. But yeah, it's like we saw him and Ian McShane. It's like, which one of these guys is Richie, right? It's like
Ian
none of
McShane's
them.
Richie. Yeah. Ian McShane though, this was just a great episode for like the character actors to really shine.
For sure.
Also, this is kind of dumb. But, Ron, the Secret Service,
Yeah.
mustache. I watched Sea of Love with Al Pacino recently.
Oh, really?
He's in it, and so is John Spencer.
No kidding.
Yeah,
I don't know if I've ever seen all of Sea of Love.
It's like an erotic thriller cop movie.
Right.
A lot of fun.
Sure.
A lot of fun. But no, that's why this show's great, is because you do get a lot of character actors from like the 80s and 90s and popping up in it. I love that about the show.
And it does, we kind of talked about going in, like it kind of felt like an intermission with that special episode. And we come into this one setting up a lot of new things moving forward, right? Yeah. Especially with CJ's situation here. We kind of set up a story arc with her where she's we're going to get kind of a procedural of what it's like to protect someone who's actually being targeted. That's not the president.
That's the fun thing about the show is like it's one genre, right? But like some of the storylines can kind of feel like it's another show.
Sure.
Obviously, we love thrillers and stuff like that. So like it's a compelling storyline for us, but at the same time we have the grounded Leo Bartlett storyline about the reactors, Also, who's building it then? Who's in charge? If it's not the Russians, who's
it's Russians, but it's not the Russian government.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's like the whole
it's rogue it's rogue elements from the previous government that
was my big question.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So I wonder how they deal with that going forward then, especially if the Russian president's not condoning that.
Sure. Well, I mean, if the Russian president's not condoning it, don't oversimplify, but it seems to me like it's not a threat of escalation if you just blow it up. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
You fly over, you blow it up. The Russian government, the president isn't on board with it being built in the first place.
Sure.
Then the Russian president, then you have less of a chance of repercussions for doing it because there's not going to be political repercussions.
Well, I wonder how Iran reacted to that then.
Well, Iran never likes it when
that's true. I guess,
they've been under like sanctions and stuff forever.
True.
They're not fans of the American government anyway.
They'll never like it.
Yeah, they I'm not saying like screw those guys or anything like that.
But still,
but it's not like that.
No.
Iran and the United States have been pretty adversarial for quite a long time anyway.
Well, they had that. There was an assassination that was carried out. I think when Trump was president, was it 2018, 2019?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it was.
There've been a lot of key figures on the magical deck of cards as far as problem people that have been killed all over the place.
Yeah.
And I'm not making a commentary on if they should or shouldn't. Just that it does happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think we set up a good set of storylines kind of moving forward. And honestly, we were wrong, right? I was expecting this episode to be largely where we kind of get the campaign going.
Sure.
And no, not even a little bit.
You know what? If we're gonna focus on it in season 4, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, it seems like that's what we are. It seems like we're going to wrap out season 3 without that really being the focus.
Yeah,
I thought after this interlude that's what it was going to be, but no, you're right. I think I might have been completely wrong, and it might be season 4 is where we really do the campaign, which is fine. Right?
I'm fine with it too. Yeah, I love this show for a myriad of reasons. I like seeing a lot of random mundane tasks taken care of.
Sure.
I wouldn't call this mundane, but at the same time, it's not.
Well, there's definitely a day-to-day for sure.
Exactly.
Feel to it, like Toby.
The Toby storyline is the perfect example. Of
loved it, right? He had nothing to do. So, do you want to get into it with this Russian journalist about whether or not she can be there? And I thought that was a really well done story. She's a garbage journalist for a garbage, tabloid, right? That has no journalistic integrity.
Sure.
But she still gets on the plane because that's what you do in a world of free press.
Of course.
Toby says the Inquirer gets to write what they want, so that I know that the New York Times gets to write what they want. That's how it works. Once you start picking and choosing, it's not really a free press anymore.
Exactly. And you don't have to respect those people. But,
yeah, exactly.
I like that he acknowledged it. He's like, I see who you are.
Yeah, for sure.
Also funny. I think it was Zoe's Secret Service agent in season 2. She went on to be in CSI.
She did, didn't she?
And now we have the NCIS guy.
That's kind of funny.
That's pretty fun, actually. Yeah, I like that a lot. The Secret Service aspect always does intrigue me. I don't know if it's because I'm like a spy thriller junkie, but I like that a lot.
It's definitely high stakes, right? Yeah. It's definitely like they're whenever we have to deal with the Secret Service, we're dealing with personal risk to the characters we really love on the show, right?
And the stakes are high because we've seen that happen on the show. Like the end of season 1 was crazy,
right?
So we know that this could be dire, and I like that Bartlett was like, "No, you're going to sign this paper because you're important to me.
Sure,
I respect you. You obviously do a great job here.
I care about you. You're going to be safe, and that's how it is."
He made the joke about how it could blow me up, but I think what he's really saying is you could get Josh killed, Donna
get
killed,
anybody, right? Yourself too.
Yeah, it is chilling when they showed her pictures of Herself.
Yeah, he didn't just like stay outside her house and take her picture leaving for work.
Oh.
He followed her around in public and
Yeah.
took pictures and got relatively close to her.
Nice call on the bodyguard reference though, because it kind of is like the bodyguard.
It is,
Now she
isn't
has
it?
her own personal.
Yeah, she has her own. Yeah.
Mark Harmon.
Do you think she's gonna fall in love with him?
I hope so.
That'd be kind of amazing, wouldn't it?
Sorkin's a huge bodyguard fan.
Yeah, because the bodyguard would have predated this, wouldn't it?
It
The
would've.
bodyguard was 90s.
Yeah, that's like 91, 92.
Yeah.
But
bittersweet memories.
You know what? I know it's a cheesy movie, but it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And obviously, if you're going to do it, you trust Aaron Sorkin as far as the writing goes to do it better. I remember when I saw his To Kill a Mockingbird on Broadway.
Yeah.
But I was like, it turns out when it came to dialogue, Aaron Sorkin is a much better writer than Harper Lee was because the script was just better.
Right. He is.
He's
Harper Lee
skilled.
Wrote a classic.
Yeah, she wrote a great novel. He wrote a great script, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
He actually, I just bought a book based off of his recommendation. He went on a podcast talking about Bush Casting the Sundance Kid.
Yeah.
And I bought Bill Goldman's Adventures in the Screen Trade. And it's complete with the entire script of Butch and Sundance, and Sorkin praised it highly. So
that's it.
I'm gonna check that one out.
Butch and Sundance is a great movie with a really cool script.
Great movie.
All right. Thanks, guys. We will catch you on the next one.
See ya.